Hi, good afternoon. I'm Aileen Milton, and I'm the president of the Village's Tea Party. With us today is Keith Flaugh, who is with the Southwest Citizens Alliance Group and also connected with the Florida 10th Amendment Center. Keith is here today to talk about a new project that he is working on, and it is called the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And Keith is going to tell us how that affects the citizens of Florida and what we would like to do. Keith, tell us a little bit about your organization, about yourself, and what we're trying to do today.
Thank you, Eileen. First of all, the Southwest Florida Citizens Alliance is a group that came together last December. We're about a little over 100 activists from around Collier and Lee County, and we took the time to define our core principles and values, and then we've since agreed to work on 3 items through the next cycle. Stopping Common Core, the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which we're going to talk about today, and the other thing that we've really decided to focus on is electing our school board in our local county. But that's a different process. Today we're here to talk about the Second Amendment Preservation Act.
Thank you, Keith. I know it's a little inconvenient doing this microphone back and forth, but we'll work with it. I want to have you all pay a little bit of attention to Keith's sign here. It's "You have a natural right to defend yourself, but it's up to you to protect your constitutional rights." And this is very important and one of the key issues here. If you go to http://fltac.org/action/2A, you'll find out that this is about taking action and how to use the 9th and 10th Amendment to protect the Second Amendment. Contact your Florida legislator and governor today. This is a new ad or campaign that they've gotten started. Tell us how this came to be.
Most of us are very familiar with the federal overreach. We could sit here and list for an hour things like the National Defense Association Act, education, Stop Common Core, immigration. There are just many areas where the federal government is overreaching. Every time we have a tragic incident like Sandy Hook or D.C., we hear Congress threaten to pass laws. We just had John Kerry recently sign a small arms treaty. We have the president vowing to use executive orders to infringe on our Second Amendment right. What most people don't realize is over the last 4 years, 10 states actually have passed into law either Firearms Freedom Acts or Second Amendment Preservation Acts. What we've done is we've taken a clean version of that bill, which basically, very simplistically, is a state sovereignty bill, and by that I mean you take the Second Amendment in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, and you use the 10th Amendment to protect your rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution and the Second Amendment. For those of you who don't remember the 10th Amendment, because we've tended to, our legislators across the states have tended to overlook that in the past years, what it really does is it says very simply that the states have the power, the states and the people of those states have the power that when the federal government overreaches on the 18 delegated powers, that the states have the authority to just say no and to refuse to enact federal law that is beyond the 18 powers. We have 10 states that have stood up on this firearms issue. You have states standing up on other similar issues. So more and more state governors are realizing that the only way they're going to be able to protect their citizens is to declare their authority underneath the 10th Amendment. And that's what we're doing with this bill.
Thank you. I think I'm going to take this time and actually read and let people have an idea of what this says. And this is basically how the Second Amendment Preservation Act starts. It says, the Florida Second Amendment Preservation Act states that the legislature of the state of Florida declares that all federal acts, laws, orders, rules, regulations, past, present, or future, in violation of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, are not authorized by the Constitution of the United States and violates its true meaning and intent as given by the founders and ratifiers, and are hereby declared to be invalid in this state, shall not be recognized by the state, are specifically rejected by the state, and shall be considered null and void and of no effect in this state. Basically, Keith, doesn't this protect the state of Florida and the Florida citizens against the federal government coming in and trying to defend our rights away and also our guns away from us?
Absolutely, that's exactly what it does. And it's really a pretty powerful statement. One thing that I would like you to consider is this is what we call a non-compliance bill, which makes it really powerful. Today, some of the bills that I mentioned that have been passed put penalties on federal agents if they come into the state once the state has declared a law unconstitutional, or a treaty or an executive order. In this bill, we call it a non-compliance bill because it puts the penalty on our elected officials, on our agencies. So, for example, if the president puts out an executive order that infringes on the Second Amendment, and our Florida legislature and the governor say, it's not constitutional, then, and let's now suppose that a federal agent comes in to try to enact that executive order, if any of our resources, any of our agencies within the state of Florida decide to aid and abet that federal agent, they lose all their grant money. And if they do it knowingly as an individual, they are presumed to have rendered their resignation and can never work in the state again. So it puts the pressure on our agencies to stop spending our scarce resources to provide support to the federal law enforcement when they're in our state on bills that we consider to be unconstitutional. So really powerful.
Well, that sort of leads me sort of to the next question. How, and I know you're working on developing grassroots county team leaders and empowering them in what are some of the tools that your organization has designed to help the common person get out and help you and help your team leaders?
That's an excellent question. What we're actually doing is empowering county by county. This is a multifaceted, decentralized effort. We're not doing this from Southwest Florida on your behalf. In your county, we're asking each county to find 3 to 5, 4 or 5 people who will act as the project leaders. And then what we're asking those people to do is basically 3 or 4 key things. One, we want you to reach out to your legislator and your senator, explain the bill to them, and ask them to sign a petition, a citizen resolution that you can get off the website. We want them to attest and resolve to stand up to the principle of state sovereignty. So that's the first thing. The second thing we want you to do is go meet with your sheriff and get him or her to do exactly the same thing, to commit to the principles of state sovereignty to protect our Second Amendment rights. In addition to that, we're asking these project teams in each county to reach out to your local Tea Parties, your 912 groups, your LECs. By that I mean your Libertarian Executive Councils, your Republican Executive Councils, your Democratic Executive Councils. This is not a partisan issue. We want them each to sign a resolution at the leadership level, post this on this website, and then encourage their members to support this. Interestingly enough, we actually have 2 churches up in the northern part of the state that are signing church resolutions. The leaders of the churches are signing this resolution and encouraging all of their parishioners to follow suit. So this is a grassroots level to encourage anybody that has a firm belief in their right to protect their life to stand up and stop federal overreach. This
sort of is what is our time frame? When is it? When does our legislature start their session again here in Florida? What is the time that we really need to get out and have our local senators understand we need them to support this? Give us some time frames and tell us about some of the counties that you've been working with already.
Well, the time frame, if I start from when legislation begins its session in the 2014 cycle, it starts March 14th, and it's a 60-day cycle, as most people know. But the whole process really began 2 weeks ago. In September, and every month between now and March, they have a committee week where all of the committees come together up in Tallahassee, and they started last month. There's a second committee week that's next week. Last week we had 6 leaders from across the state who were up there. We had meetings with some of the key senators and some of the key chairmen of the different committees. We also met with the governor's staff last week. This coming week we're going to have 8 to 10 of us up there. Some same folks and different folks from these county teams we're developing, and what we're doing is we're meeting with all the committee people, not just the chairman, but we're meeting with all the committee people to get them to support this bill. Okay, so the other thing that we've requested this week, based on our meeting last week with the governor's staff, is we've requested a meeting with the chief of staff, Adam Hollingsworth, and we've also requested a formal meeting with Representative Pam Bondi, our Attorney General Pam Bondi. And what our purpose for both of those are, we ultimately want to get to the governor and ask for his support. We think the governor needs to stand tall on state sovereignty. You may know that other governors are beginning to do this. Texas, your home state, Perry is standing up very aggressively on the Second Amendment. Bobby Jindal is passionate about the 10th Amendment and using the 10th Amendment to protect all of our rights. So we need our governor to take a very strong position on state sovereignty and stopping the federal overreach. And this is the first of many, we hope.
Can you pause it for a second? Well, Keith, it sounds like we're under a tight time frame here, and we need to get something started very soon. So, what is the deadline date that we really need to be working towards to get people to go to this site and the volunteers that you need? Give us that date.
Well, by my way of thinking, we've got about 45 days to get this bill filed in both the House and Senate. Now, technically, we could let it slide into the first part of the year, but over the Christmas holidays, not much happens from a political point of view. So what we really need to do is have you put as much pressure, using this system that we're about to show you, put as much pressure on your legislators, your sheriff, to support this bill. We'll get the word all the way up to the governor, and that'll give the courage, we hope, for a senator and a representative to actually file the bill. Once we've got the bill filed, and as far as I'm concerned, it's Katie bar the door. We'll start big media releases. We'll put a whole lot of energy across the state into making sure the bill gets passed. But we got to get it filed first, and that's where we need your help right now in the next 45 days. We've set a target of 60,000 petitions in 60 days starting the middle of September. In my 2 counties, for example, of Collier and Lee County, just by going to gun shows and going to the Patriot groups, we've had almost 1,500 people in 2 weeks sign this petition or hit the site and send the letter. So it's doable. You got to think outside the box, and you just got to do it. So we appreciate your help.
It's unfortunate in this day and age that we don't expect that our Second Amendment is just automatically taken care of. But it's obvious with what the federal government is doing, and Eric Holder and this president and this administration is trying to take our Second Amendment rights away. So it is important that everyone get involved. It's a very simple, easy process to get on board with, Keith, and we're going to show you how to do that right now. So here we are. I've got our iPad pulled up, and I'm going to show you how simple it is. It's simpler than Obamacare. all you have to do is go to fltac.org/action/2A, and then this form will come up. I'm entering today to let them know that I support what Keith is doing here, and that I agree that the Second Amendment Preservation Act needs to be implemented and up on the session this year. So here's what the site looks like. What you want to do is enter your contact information, which I've done. When you put in your address and your email, you do need to fill out every single one of these blanks. When you have your zip code and that type of stuff, it will bring up your representatives. Like in our area in Sumter County, it's Marlene O'Toole, Senator Hayes, and then your Attorney General Pam Bondi, brings up our Governor Rick Scott, and Senator Don Gatz, and Gates, isn't it? Sorry about that. Gates, and Representative Will Weatherford. And then it also will bring up your county commissioners in your area. It doesn't show you pictures, but in Sumter County we have 5 county commissioners, and our sheriff, which is Bill Farmer. Now, what this allows you to do is to fill out this information. It actually has your name already printed. Then it shows, I put in here under the what the subject of this email is. It's a Second Amendment Preservation Act. So I've typed that in too. Now, before I send this off, I also want to show you the other side of the web page. This also sends a message to Senator Greg Evers, and we're asking him, again in this particular letter, to file this bill and support it. So again, I've filled out the information at the top of the page: name, address, my email address. My name shows up. I put again under the title or subject. On this one, I put file and support this bill. I'm ready to send it off. You can actually do this every day, 30 days in a row, so that they continue to understand the importance of this. So here I go. I'm going to hit send message. That is gone. I've signed the petition. Whoops. Send. What's it? It says my email address is wrong. I might have typed it wrong. Okay, I put it. I'll fix that. But this is basically how easy it is to do. So please, everyone, we appreciate Keith being with us today. We support the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It's now up to the citizens of the state of Florida to act. Keith, you have any final comments?
No. Just thank you so much for doing. Thank you so much for doing this, and we urge you, please, to do this today. And then you can do this as often as you want over the next 30 to 45 days. We just need everybody to get involved. It's your First Amendment or Second Amendment rights. It's your Constitution. It's time for us to take action. Thank you.
This is to let you know that this video will be up on the Villages Tea Party .org address. Keith will also be given a copy of the DVD, and so that he can start sharing it. Please, everyone, take this information, copy it and paste it, and send it to everyone you know on your email address, and let's get behind the concept that the state of Florida needs to protect its Second Amendment rights. We thank you for being with us here today.